I don't know if this is bright enough, but hopefully it is. The main thing is that the message is heard. So I just wanted to talk about what life has taught me behind losing both my parents the last couple of years. The loss of both of my parents and my oldest brother. Their departure. What I want to say is that life has taught me that, first of all, life's taught me that our time here on earth is limited, and it's important not to take it for granted, feeling like, you always got tomorrow, you got next week, you got next month, next year to do something, to follow your heart, follow your dream, your passions. It's taught me that that is not true, and that the Almighty God, divine force presence that is the reason this entire universe exists. He's beating my heart. He's beating our hearts moment to moment, and that we don't know when our last day will be. And more importantly, losing both of my parents and my oldest brother over this last couple of years has taught me that it was a big lesson in thinking that I had control over something. You have control over your life or death. You have control over what happened to other people. You don't. And it forces you, something this devastating when it happens in your life, it forces you to take a look in the mirror and to go within, to have gratitude for every breath that you take, and to have gratitude for waking up and realizing that to wake up is a gift, and that everything that we go through in life, our trials and tribulations, the dark times, the high moments, to know that it's something, a mighty power, a divine force. I call it God. Whatever name you may assign to your faith, it was a rude awakening to know that that's always been what was in charge, and that it's important to build a relationship with that divine force, with God, and be grateful for each moment, and to try to live your life a lot more intentionally, on purpose, and try to figure out what your calling is, what your purpose is. The pain of losing both of my parents and my oldest brother, especially with being someone who had never experienced death before. It was a rude awakening. It was a jolt into realizing that the pain that I experienced was somehow tied to what my true purpose and calling is, and the reason that I'm here on earth. I was a nurse since 2009, and behind all the deaths that I experienced, it triggered me to realize that being a nurse wasn't my true calling. It was the transportation, as T.D. Jakes say. It was the transportation to the destination. And I now realize, or I feel in my heart, that my calling is to share my healing journey coming back from, or my healing journey going through all of this. And what I realize, which is the fact that because life is so short and you don't know when your last breath will be, it's important to try to unlearn things that have been implanted in the subconscious mind throughout your life, that make you live in a state of regret, and living in a state of guilt and shame, and anxiousness, depression, wishing you would have did things differently, wishing you could have changed the outcome of things. It shook me up to realize that one of my bigger goals is to share how I'm healing through this. So like with both of my parents, they lived a full life the best that they could. They showed me the love, all the love that they had and they could, but I realize now that part of what robbed them of their life and potentially gave them the mental stressors and sadness and pain that eventually I feel led to, over the long term, a manifestation of physical health decline and ultimately robbing them of their time here on earth, is from the mental battle. Like I realize as I reflect over their life and looking at my life and things that I'm trying to work on changing about myself moving forward, so that the narrative of life, the narrative that I live and lead will be evolved to a greater expression of how to live your life on purpose and intentionally. And it boiled down to just unlearning a lot of things that make you feel unworthy, unlovable, not enough, not good enough, things that make you feel abandoned. Like that was something that I went through. It bubbled up a lot of those kind of emotions when they passed. It made me feel alone, it made me feel abandoned. But ultimately, I think all those emotions that came to the surface as I've been healing through their departure, it forces you to be still, be alone with your thoughts and your inner voice, and to realize that a lot of the ways that you feel and think about your life and your self-perception, self-identity, and your worldview are illusions, and that ultimately you were always inherently worthy. You were always already inherently enough. Let me turn this on. You're inherently enough. You're inherently worthy. You're inherently beautiful. And these are things